I'm so sorry about that. I didn't mean to-
No, it's all right. It's all right. I didn't know that could happen. So for the listeners out there, what happened was I was on a pod with Jenna, and
A gate
a
crash.
really a gate crash to the pod, which was quite funny. But yeah, here we are. If you could let the listeners know who you are and what is it that you do.
Yep. So I'm Nadine. I'm a nutritional therapist. I qualified, I think, 3 or 4 years ago now. So I studied under Chris Mark, who you've had on the show before. I also qualified as a homeopath. So I'm qualified to do both, but my focus is mostly nutrition. I have my own infertility struggles. So myself and my partner tried to conceive for around 3 or 4 years with a number of miscarriages along the way, as well as an ectopic pregnancy. I am now very lucky to have 2 little boys who came through IVF because my own personal infertility stems from structural issues, meaning that it would be impossible for me to fall pregnant naturally. So we went through IVF, and it was an absolute roller coaster. With my first son, who is now almost 7, we had about 3 or 4 miscarriages before we conceived him. With my second son, who is now 3, we fell pregnant the first time. And I strongly believe that it isn't just down to luck. I think it's 100% down to all of the things that we did to prepare my body for pregnancy. So my own infertility journey inspired I guess I studied nutrition, but I now specialize in fertility because of my own struggles. So I want to help anyone who is going through something similar or is struggling to conceive their own child.
Amazing, amazing. So what is causing infertility then?
I guess one of the things that most people would suggest is age. Right? Age is a factor. So people are choosing to have children later, and that can lead to issues with conception because fertility does decline as you get older. This is one of those topics that people, it's difficult for some people to discuss because they have this idea that once they turn 35, their fertility is like just on the decline and there's like hardly any chance that you're going to fall pregnant. But it's a fact that when you get older, your fertility declines. But in my opinion, I would say that age is a factor, but one of the biggest reasons is environment. So thinking about things like endocrine disruptors. So environmental toxins can be anything from pollution, the air that we breathe, the food that we're eating, covered in herbicides and pesticides, unfortunately. But endocrine disruptors, so things that are, like plastics or things that are found in our everyday hair products. So, like makeup. I can't remember the number, but women put so many different products on their skin every day, from like hairsprays, shampoo, conditioners, makeup, lipsticks, we just bombard our bodies with endocrine disruptors. So endocrine disruptors can disrupt the production of our hormones. So our hormones are like messengers that go around the body telling our body what to do, produce and get ready for ovulation, for example, detoxify, it's involved in everything that happens within the body. So endocrine disruptors can kind of mimic hormones or mess with the messages that are going around the body for these processes to happen. So one of the things that could happen, I guess you might be familiar with, is estrogen dominance. So endocrine disruptors can mimic estrogen. So it can make the body think there's too much or too little estrogen in the system. And that can then go on to have an impact on sex hormones, ovulation, sperm production, because testosterone is another hormone that can have this issue with endocrine disruptors. They can also impact testosterone. So thinking about male sperm production. So yeah, like I said, I think the number one on the list for what's causing infertility, in my opinion, is endocrine disruptors. Second would be male infertility. So thinking about sperm health. So sperm health is on the decline. I think you've probably seen some of my posts about sperm health. But over the last 30 years, we've seen a 60% decrease in sperm counts. So, you can look at these charts that have the normal range. There's like a yearly, I think it's maybe yearly or maybe every few years they publish, like what's considered the normal range for sperm count, motility, which is how the sperm moves, morphology, which is the shape of the sperm, and sperm count. And instead of trying to figure out why these numbers are on the decline, they've just lowered the normal range. So it makes it seem as if this decline is normal. So male factor infertility is definitely up there on the list of things that are contributing to infertility. I know we're going to get into sperm health a bit more later on in the show. The next thing on my list would be metabolic conditions. So things like type 2 diabetes and PCOS are big ones. PCOS is actually one of the most common reasons for infertility in women.
I'm hearing PCOS a lot these days. But why is that happening?
Yeah, so PCOS is a majority of the time. There are 4 different types of PCOS, but the most common reason for PCOS, or the common type of PCOS, is insulin resistance. So insulin, you probably heard people talking about insulin resistance on your show. But with insulin resistance, your cells no longer respond to insulin effectively. So insulin is a hormone, right? So if your insulin is not working effectively, this has a knock-on effect to all of your other hormones, so progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. So insulin helps to control blood sugar levels. So what we're seeing with people with PCOS is they have this insulin resistance that then leads to what's called anovulatory cycles. So cycles where women aren't actually ovulating or releasing an egg, and that can lead to, obviously, you're not going to conceive if there's no egg, right? So that's one of the most common reasons for infertility, is the fact that women who have PCOS aren't ovulating efficiently. So with conditions like type 2 diabetes and PCOS, we focus on making people insulin sensitive again. So through things like exercise, so resistance training is really great. Also keto diet, therapeutically. I wouldn't recommend, I'm not really into diets or fad diets, but in cases of insulin resistance or, type 2 diabetes or PCOS, it can work wonders. Also, nutrients like magnesium, thinking about increasing your fiber intake. All of these things combined can make you insulin sensitive again and can reverse PCOS.
How do these people who have insulin resistance, how are they eating then, do you think?
Well, I know diet is one of the things that I'm going to mention as, the factors of what's one of the things that's causing infertility is definitely diet. So high sugar diets, whether that's, processed foods or high starch, because starch turns directly into sugar. So converts to sugar very quickly. So packaged foods, fast foods, high sugar diets, but then also thinking about stress can also lead to unbalanced blood sugar levels, which can lead to insulin resistance over time. So it isn't just because of what they're eating. It can be a combination of different lifestyle factors. Being sedentary, not moving your body at all. There are so many different reasons why somebody might have these conditions.
Because I'm just thinking about, you mentioned stress. The world is just becoming more and more stressful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I guess that's the kind of thing you can help with, where people can be less stressed. Is that something that you can help with as well?
Yeah,
because that's more of a coaching thing, isn't it, rather than a nutritional thing, or like, oh, you can take this supplement and you just be like a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, it's difficult because you can recommend things like B vitamins and things that support your adrenals, magnesium, and you can recommend meditation, yoga, working out, journaling. There are so many things you can recommend, but what I'm finding with my clients is they are already stressed, and then they have the extra layer on top from trying to conceive or struggling with infertility. So it's with the clients I work with, it's not about getting rid of the stress, it's about managing the stress, because it isn't going to go away until they reach their goal, which is to have to fall pregnant. So we do, I do make lots of recommendations for kind of helping to manage stress levels, whether that's through, I like to recommend things like decluttering as a form of stress relief, because we're not all into meditation. We're not all gonna, we're not all gonna journal. We're not gonna.
My wife went to see someone, and she had a bioresonance scanning machine, and because we've used it before from somewhere else, and this lady was local, literally around the corner from my house, so you might as well just go in and see her and check her out. And she was good at counselling and stuff. And then she mentioned, oh, just go in the garden and just, get your feet onto the ground, literally.
Yeah.
And my wife went home. She's like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
She was like, when am I gonna take my slippers off go into the garden, sit down.
Yeah.
But with me, I literally can do it. I literally go in there while everyone's asleep, and I just walk around in the garden with my bare feet.
Yeah.
But for my wife, for example, and there's many people like that, they're like, I'm not doing that. I don't have time to do that.
No, exactly. Yeah. You know, and one of the things that I like to recommend, you know, for my clients is to go out and get first morning light. It's very powerful for, you know, supporting your circadian rhythm, so your internal clock. And it's one of those things that I personally can't do because I have two small children and I can't get out in the morning and do it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's about finding what works for you right now. You know, what can you manage? You know, I always give people a list of things that they can try, and then they'll pick and choose what works best for them. So stress it's part of our lives. You know, it's about how you know, how resilient you are and how you manage stress. But there are lots of supplements you can take, you know, and lots of, you know, tinctures like lemon balm, L-theanine, oat drops. So there are different things that you can try to manage your stress levels. Diet is huge when it comes to infertility, because we are, I guess, since the Industrial Revolution, we now are just like, there's just packaged foods in the supermarkets, right? Every single aisle is full of packaged and processed foods. If you look at the ingredient list, it's just like, I don't even know what half of these things are anymore, you know, can't even pronounce them, and I definitely don't want them in my body. But just thinking about how that's impacting hormone production and fertility. Diet is another key factor, so difficult to avoid. And again, unless the individual has the discipline to meal prepare their foods in advance and make sure that they're prepared for the week, most people will go into the supermarket and they'll be like, oh, this is overwhelming, I'm just going to get something that's quick. And often quick stuff is going to be the processed and the crappy foods. I think I was in the supermarket last week and I took a picture, a sneaky picture as well. I might share it with you. But the person behind me in the queue was buying those, you know, the the packaged burgers, like with the processed bread and then the meat inside and then the other bun. And I'm just, and you know, just beers, and nothing wrong with having a drink here and there, but just I'm talking about the whole of what he, you know, all of the food that he was buying was like stuff that you chuck in the microwave, you know, and even having a microwave is like, you're just killing all of the nutrients in the food anyway. So what is he left with in that piece of processed meat and the two buns? You know, it's quite sad to be honest. But then I think people, again, it does come down to the discipline and the information, you know, and having the support to make those changes.
Definitely. I think that people want convenience, don't they? Yeah. But when you have convenience, there comes there's always something and come back at you.
Yeah.
You know, exactly. With convenience, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're talking about diet, and when a woman, and I keep saying someone, there's only a woman that can get pregnant. When a woman gets pregnant, advised to take folic acid tablets, right? Yeah. And with in the wellness community, you get a lot of people say, some say it's fine, and the other side say, well, folic acid isn't actually a thing. That's actually just a tablet. It's actually folate that you need. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so folic acid is recommended because it prevents neural tube defects. So thinking about conditions like spina bifida. And I think as a woman, when I was going through my own fertility struggles, I went for my initial my initial consultations for IVF. That's exactly what they said. Take folic acid, take vitamin D, no advice around diet or lifestyle at all. It was just take these two supplements. And, you know, I did question, you know, what do I need the folic acid for? And the response is to prevent neural tube defects. And as soon as you hear that, you're going to take it, right? Because that's a massive issue, you know, it's a massive thing. If that happens, it's going to be awful, right? But folic acid is the synthetic version of folate. It's made in a lab, you know, and I think that is, as soon as you hear that, you should be questioning why it's made in a lab and how it's made. So there is a difference between folic acid and folate. So folic acid has to be converted into its active form for the body to use it, whereas methylfolate, which you can find in supplements that are more natural, kind of food grown supplement, it's already in its active form, so your body can just use it, and you know it uses it for whatever it needs. But people who take folic acid, around 40% of the population struggle with the conversion of folic acid into folate, due to a genetic issue with the MTHFR gene, which is that's involved in a process called methylation. Methylation is one of the most fundamental processes that happens in each and every one of our cells. It happens billions of times per second in every cell. So it's involved in everything you can think of, from, energy production to detoxification. It's really critical when it comes to fertility. So, you're taking folic acid because you were recommended folic acid. You can't convert it properly. So then you are still at risk for neural tube, issues with neural tube defects if you do fall pregnant. So why not just take the active form? I don't know why they don't recommend it, to be honest.
It's cheaper. It's just cheaper.
Yeah, of course. They're actually derived from petroleum products. So,
Wow.
if you actually look into how it's made and, what it does in the body, it makes absolutely no sense. But like you said, it's cheaper. So that's the only reason they recommend it.
Well, then my next question is, and it might be linked to what you said, it's only 40%, and I say only lightly. I mean, 40% of the population of women that take this folic acid tablet, it might not work. But at the same time, I don't hear a lot of cries about children suffering from spina bifida, or is it the 40% of people who can't assimilate it match with the amount of children get spina bifida? Does that make sense? What I'm asking, does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Because we got 3 women pregnant in our family right now.
Yeah.
So my wife's sister, who's due in 2 weeks, and her aunt, who just had a baby actually. So
yeah.
My wife's 2 sisters. Shit, sorry. So my wife's pregnant, and her 2 sisters are pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And her auntie just had the baby about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So I saw her with the big folic acid tablets that was recommended, and it just makes me worry because one, the petroleum thing, because most of these are synthetic, and 2, whether she can assimilate it. So how does someone find out whether they can actually obtain acid, do the conversion? How does someone find out?
So genetic testing is one way. I guess people who have issues with methylation would have symptoms, brain fog, tiredness, poor detox capabilities. There's a long list of potential symptoms, but the everyday person wouldn't ever make that link, right? They have absolutely no idea what methylation even is. So genetic testing is definitely one of the best ways to test for MTHFR.
MTHFR. I've heard of it. I've got dirty genes on my iPad somewhere.
Yeah,
I just haven't read it yet.
He talks about it a lot, and in that book he talks about the importance of scrubbing your genes first. So actually working on your environment and working on your lifestyle and diet before you even think about supplementation or doing anything along those lines. So, and you asked why they only recommend folic acid for 3 months into pregnancy, and then they just stop. And it's true, these kind of folate is something that you should just be consuming every day, right? So thinking about your dark leafy greens, liver, egg yolks, fish roe, all the
foods that women most likely don't like, right?
Yeah. Well, beef, I guess, is something that some women will eat, but like your dark leafy greens. But it is recommended that some people do supplement with folate during pregnancy.
And I'm guessing the reason why they recommend women to supplement them is because 1, they know they're not eating it.
Yeah.
And 2, it's just easier, and it's just, I find it interesting that the way society is in terms of food, it's just taking us away from health, and now it's like, okay, now just throw some pills in there just to cover it up. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's true. I got into nutrition through following the work of Weston A. Price and Sally Fallon. So
I've got a podcast with her later.
Oh, really? If you ask her anything around fertility and folate and all of that stuff, she's gonna explain it a lot better than I just did. My mum has always been into health and wellness.
All right, okay.
So it's like You know, I remember my friends, whenever they used to come round, they always used to take the mick because they'd look in my fridge and be like, there's nothing in here. Why have you only got fruit and vegetables? Where's all the juice? Where are all the snacks? You know, and it's like, and now they don't laugh anymore. They're like, oh, that's actually, you know, it was actually a really good thing. So my mum's always been into eating well. She was a vegetarian for a long time, which I guess some people wouldn't agree is the best approach. I certainly think it's best to have a bit of everything.
Going to sperm health.
Yeah.
Why has sperm health dropped? What is going on?
So I'm glad that we're talking about sperm health, because I think as women, we always have the burden of infertility. We always take 100% of it most of the time, you know, when in fact it's 50-50, because the sperm passes 50% of the DNA over to the egg to create the embryo, right? So why aren't we having more conversations about sperm health? So sperm health has been on the decline, like I said before. It's declined by 60% in the last 30 years. Like we were discussing before, environmental toxins are definitely, in my opinion, the biggest reason for declining sperm health. So specifically, phthalates in plastics can impact testosterone and sperm production. So thinking about, you know, the quality of sperm, not just the count, the motility, the way that it moves, the shape. So sperm can be, when the production is disrupted, sperm can end up having more than one head or more than one tail.
What?
Yeah.
So wow. Two-headed sperm?
Yeah.
No. What? Are you kidding me? Let me see this. Hold on.
I'll send you some pictures. It's
yeah. So I can put it on the video. Hold on.
Yeah.
Two-headed.
Yeah. Have a look at the pictures. It's quite cute.
Oh my God. Two heads. And is that like a new phenomenon?
Mm-mm.
It's not?
No. Also, the motility of the sperm, so the way it moves, sometimes sperm, instead of swimming in a straight line, they'll just swim around in circles instead of actually, you know,
like a cat chasing its tail.
Yeah, exactly. So phthalates can disrupt, you know, they're endocrine disruptors, so they disrupt your hormones. So that, again, I think environmental factors are at the top of the list when it comes to why sperm counts are dropping. But also thinking about our lifestyles, you know, we live indoors. You know, we're always indoors. We were not designed to be indoors, and yet most of us, we just work from home and we sit at our desk. You know, I think most of us want to go outdoors, or we have a plan to, you know, today I'm going to go outside and get at least 10 minutes of sunshine. I'm going to walk around the block, or I'm going to walk to wherever I would usually drive, you know. And then we don't do it. So we are sedentary, and that can have an impact on sperm production. Also, things like hot saunas, biking, for example. So, you know, people who are like really into, what's it called? Like like bike.
Oh, right. Okay. Like the Tour de France kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
biking as a
like
sport.
triathlons or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
So biking is another thing that can impact sperm production. Hot baths, hot saunas, sedentary lifestyle, and again, diet and lifestyle. It's probably about as important as the endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Would you say the phthalates is the top one?
Yeah, 100%. They come from plastics, and you probably are well aware of how much plastic is in the environment nowadays.
Yeah, like one thing I recommend now is if anyone's going to like a coffee shop and they see those plastic lizards, take it off, just drink it without it. And that's one thing, because they can melt. Well, the heat can get into the drink and you're drinking it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there any like plastic things that are not so, I guess, typical, or is there anything that you think? Plastic. Basically, I'm asking: is there examples of plastic that people are consuming? I could imagine like Tupperware boxes where people are putting their food in, and like, you know, they're meal prepping.
Yeah.
You know, the solution for that would be glass, right?
Of course, yeah. Glass jars. I collect glass jars, and every now and then I'll go down to the local charity shops and look for, you know, like glass containers, because they're really expensive. That's another reason why people are put off from buying glass storage containers, because they do cost quite a lot of money. So yeah, I always recommend glass containers over plastics, but they're in the environment and they're often hidden in most of the things that we put on our skin. For example, you know, tap water is another big thing, another massive exposure. Yeah, they're really difficult to avoid. So I guess it's about making sure that you are having lots of antioxidant rich foods in your diet, because it's like stress. We can't avoid it completely, but there are things we can do to support our bodies with, detoxification. So, making sure that we're having regular bowel movement. Sauna can be really beneficial, but then if you're trying to conceive, it's one of those things that you have to be careful with, because I know we're going to talk about this, but testicles like to be cold. They like to be cool, which is why they hang outside of the body. Because the production.
I need to tell my wife to stop busting my balls then.
or ask her to get some of those ice pants that we would just.
That's it.
But yeah, the production of sperm is very delicate, and heat can disrupt the process of sperm production. So keeping them cool is one of the things that needs to be prioritized. So, and just thinking about some of the things that could overheat down there, you're thinking about having your mobile phone in your pocket. Some people have their mobile phone in their pocket all day long, really close to very delicate sperm producing testicles, right? So thinking about laptops as well, having your laptop on your lap. I know it's called a laptop and that's where it's supposed to be, but if you're struggling with a low sperm count and you're struggling to conceive, then you'll be looking into all of the things that you can do to reverse or improve your sperm quality and your sperm count. So reducing toxin exposure is up there. Also, keeping everything down there nice and cool. So if you're into biking, if you're into saunas, just have a break for a few months, because sperm take about 70-something days to regenerate completely, whereas women, it's around the process of developing a good quality egg can take around 3 months. So men have this window that's a lot, 70 days to turn things around. So, just think about all of the things that you can do to support sperm production during that 70+ day window. Yeah.
Okay. So going to sperm production, so saunas, what about infrared saunas? Did it make a difference? Is it still the same effect?
No, that's completely different. Red light, it depends on the type, because I know there are so many red light therapy lamps out there now, and I can't remember the exact number that you need it to be to actually be kind of where it helps to actually repair cells. It can have antioxidant properties. So it's something that I recommend for women with conditions like endometriosis and fibroids. Red light therapy can be really powerful to fight something called oxidative stress. So it can be anti-inflammatory. Also great for your skin. So for helping to produce new collagen, it's something that I would always recommend over toxins like Botox or filler and stuff like that people are really into nowadays.
Yeah. I get word from my girls, because when they're older, they're seeing people around them. They're probably going to get the lips done at a young age, all the rest of it. I mean, some of these girls that are getting the lips done, it's like illegally they're getting it done. Like they shouldn't be doing it at their age, but it's a scary world out there, because it's a very superficial / artificial world. And Botox, if you look into the definition of Botox, is actually a toxin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they just hide it, where they try to make it sound like it's it isn't, that it's not a toxin, right? But it is. Yeah. And I don't know how many studies have been done on the effects of Botox on fertility, but I'm guessing that it definitely does a lot of damage.
Definitely. So going back to balls then, so just, and I feel like my wife now, when she said that she's not going to go outside and put her feet on the grass, like at one point am I going to put ice down there? I'm just trying to think, how would that work?
Yeah, so there's actually a brand of ice pants called Snowballs. It's a thing. So like I said, if you do have issues with sperm count, or you've had your sperm tested and some of the markers have come back as not within range, like motility or morphology.
What is the range? Oh,
I don't know off the top of my head, but I've got a couple of infographics that I can share with you that I put on Instagram that have the normal range.
Cool.
I can't remember. I think so. Morphology, it's something like 4% of the sperm. At least 4% of the sperm need to be of normal shape. Motility, I think it's about 60%, but then I use optimal ranges instead of normal range. So I'll share something with you that explains the differences. If somebody does have issues with sperm count, using ice can actually help to reverse some of the issues down there. So I'm not recommending that people kind of do this every day for hours. It's like a 10 or 15-minute session of just having some ice down there.
Okay.
And it can
Not until it melts.
No, definitely not. And I you know, it's something that I have recommended a couple of times, and people seem to be more than willing to give it a go. But yeah, I think the Snowballs brand, it's like they're actual pans that you put ice in the pouch.
I need to have a look at this. Hold on, let's have a look. Snowballs.
Yeah, Snowballs.
Pants. Right, maximize fertility, ice easy, recovery fast, stay cool. Okay. Okay, so this look like normal boxes, like
with an ice pack at the front.
Essentially, yeah. And you said 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, as much as someone can tolerate, I guess I can imagine it's a bit uncomfortable.
Interesting.
But it can help with sperm production and sperm quality. So,
wow,
yeah.
I mean, that's really clever. Like I mean, there's a need there, isn't there? So if it means like helping people to produce single-headed sperms, then why not?
Normal sperm, yeah, normal shaped sperm. Yeah,
that's
but
it.
You know, I guess some people might find that a bit extreme. It's kind of like recommending cold plunges for everyone. Not everyone's going to be suited to that approach, right? Depending on their adrenal health and their stress levels, you couldn't, or their thyroid health, for example. Thinking about sending someone who has an underactive thyroid into like a cold chamber or to do ice plunges first thing in the morning, it's like you're just going to send their body like into an even more of an underfunctioning state rather than improve things. So again, I think ice packs aren't going to be for everyone.
The cold plunges, the Kush put in a post up, it's like it's not for everyone. And I remember seeing that the Iceman Wim Hof, is that his name? Wim Hof. He had a program. The breathing guy, and he had a show on the BBC, I think it was. I think because I saw it on YouTube. I don't watch TV, but he basically had like Patrice Evra, who's like a ex-footballer, and some celebrities do it. They went to like the North Pole or the South Pole, and they did it in the actual thing. And like Patrice Evra, I don't know if you know of him. He's quite a disciplined, strong-willed guy. And he went and he started crying. He's like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. No way I'll be able to do that. Like for someone who's never, I mean, I've never done it. He's probably done it doing it in a bin or something for football, but I just don't think it's for everyone either. I've seen ones where you can do like the cold shower things. I mean, do you think it's like one of those things where you can kind of do like a 50% version, like a cold shower for a bit and do it at home? Or do you think it's just, it depends?
I don't know. If you're someone who really doesn't like the cold, then why would you put yourself through it? It's like torture, right? Some of us are just cold, we just don't want to be in the cold. Other people find it, because you do get that kind of adrenaline rush, right? So they enjoy it. But yeah, I think there are other ways that you can improve health rather than putting yourself in an ice bucket. But then again, I have worked with people who absolutely love it. So everyone's individual, we're all individuals.
That's it. Like my daughter said, we are all different. When I was telling her off about eating, I think she was eating, what did she have? She had like, she ate something. I was like, you shouldn't be eating that, Dad. We're all different.
Yeah.
So miscarriage can happen from poor sperm quality, right? So you said it's a 50-50
exactly
thing.
Yeah. So yes, the sperm passes 50% of the DNA over to the egg to create the embryo, and if a sperm has a high level of DNA fragmentation, which means the DNA is damaged, fragmented, the actual DNA of the sperm is damaged, and then it's passed on to the embryo. It doesn't mean that a woman wouldn't fall pregnant from it, but it means that there's a chance that pregnancy could lead to miscarriage because of the damage to the DNA in the sperm. So again, it's 50-50, but there are lots of studies out there showing that miscarriage can be linked back to sperm health. So again, I think it's just so important for men and women to work together when you're trying to conceive. Women I'd say about 90% of the women that I work with always take the blame. They're like, their husband or their partner isn't doing anything because they assume that they're absolutely fine and it's most likely the woman, when in fact it's 50% of the time it's male factor infertility. So I like to work with couples. I have a couples program where we work over 4 months together with both partners, and we look at hair tissue mineral analysis testing to get an idea of their nutrient status at the cellular level. So, looking at zinc, for example, which is really important for both sperm and progesterone, and getting an idea of toxic burden as well. So, for men and women, it's really important to make sure that they don't have a high level of heavy metal toxicity. So yeah, working with couples, I think making sure that the man is completely on board is really important because, like I've said, it's 50% him as well as her.
Do you find that the guy is usually a bit hesitant to join in, or is it before you signed them up, or they're signed up like they're both on the same path?
It varies. I'd say some are really actually, no, I'm just thinking, a bit hesitant most of the time. Sometimes the man is fully on board and he's just like, very well aware or mindful of the fact that it's also his sperm that's going to play a part in conception. Or some men are really nice and they just like want to support their wife or their partner, and they go along with it, and then we find male factor issues, which is great because then it's like even more awareness around the importance of improving male fertility.
So there's been a lot of miscarriages over the last couple of years. Have you been noticing that as well? Like has there been a shift somewhere where there's a lot of women having miscarriages, like statistically and from what you're seeing, or is it just a normal thing now?
I think miscarriage, most of the time it's down to the genetic abnormalities, but once you've had more than one miscarriage, you do start to think like, is there something deeper going on here? You shouldn't wait until you've had 3 miscarriages to seek help or support. I think miscarriages, again, it's on the rise, but what's happening as well is women are testing a lot earlier. Some women are doing these early pregnancy tests and they're picking up things like very early miscarriages, what some people call them chemical pregnancies, that are lost very early on in the pregnancy. And, there's a number of reasons it could be happening, thinking about, lack of progesterone, which is the hormone that holds onto a pregnancy. Genetic abnormalities is a big one, but again, male factor infertility, so sperm health as well. But this is where I like to do functional testing. So the Dutch hormone test, if someone's having miscarriages, I would always recommend further testing, beyond blood tests. Of course, I would recommend blood tests, but when you're looking at hormones, it's much better to look at hormones in urine and saliva than it is blood, because blood is fluid, it's forever changing, it's there to maintain homeostasis. So you're always most of the time, you're going to get results that come back within normal range. But then when you do further testing, when you're looking at saliva and urine throughout the day, you're seeing the pattern of what's happening with the hormones throughout the day, their production, the metabolism, how they're working together. It's a clear picture. So you could get, let's say you did a progesterone blood test and it comes back as within normal range, or what they would consider to be normal range, but then you do a Dutch test and it shows that the production is actually on the low side, then that could be one of the contributing factors towards miscarriage. So I always recommend investing in a functional testing, because having a miscarriage it's heartbreaking, it's devastating, so why not invest to try and find out exactly what could be the root cause?
So 3 tips to help fertility health for women and 3 tips to help with sperm health for men.
Yeah, so I'm going to group them together because I think it's the things that I'm going to mention, they overlap. So my first tip, it might sound basic, but it's about supporting your circadian rhythm. So your internal body clock. So your circadian rhythm helps with the process of like your sex hormones. They're thinking about progesterone, estrogen, testosterone as well for men. So your internal body clock, in the morning when you wake up, cortisol rises and then it starts to come down throughout the day. And then melatonin comes in the evening and it starts to rise in the evening. And melatonin is known as your sleepy hormone. It's also a very powerful antioxidant. So let's say, for example, you're a shift worker, or you're a pilot. I was working with a client who was a pilot. So you can imagine the circadian rhythm is like completely messed up. Your internal body clock. It's like, what am I doing now? Am I awake? Am I sleeping? Am I making hormones? Am I ovulating? You know, that your body's like, doesn't know what's going on. So we're supporting your circadian rhythm to ensure that your body is doing what it needs to do throughout the day. So cortisol, melatonin production, sex hormone production. Your body knows when the right timing is for things like ovulation. Really important. So things that can disrupt your circadian rhythm would be blue light. So devices, mobile devices, you know, the one thing that we all do that we shouldn't do, like in bed, you know, you might be checking emails too late or working too late or doom scrolling, you know, all of that stuff can disrupt your circadian rhythm and your melatonin production. And like I said, melatonin is a powerful antioxidant that protects your cells, and that includes egg and sperm cells. Getting enough sleep as well is really important for your circadian rhythm. So going to bed at a reasonable time. Studies show that women need more sleep than men. So we need to sleep more, regardless of, you know, I guess all the things that we need to do, or, you know, all the jobs that we have to do. Women need to be the ones that stay in bed at the weekend, okay? Not the men, to support our circadian rhythm. So yeah, that would be my first tip. My second tip is about supporting your mitochondria. So your mitochondria are tiny structures inside of your cells that generate energy. So they produce energy. So your cells, you know, thinking about sperm and egg, they're cells, right? So I always like to go to the root of where the energy is produced. So if people are struggling with, you know, low sperm count or poor egg quality, miscarriages, everything that could be related to infertility, then I would always focus on, like I said, circadian rhythm. So making sure that your body knows what's, you know, when to do things, and then supporting your mitochondria. So, you know, antioxidants are absolutely wonderful for supporting the integrity of the structure of the cells. So antioxidants would include one of the most well-known antioxidants that is recommended to women if you go through IVF or if you go on like fake communities. Everyone's like, take CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant that is wonderful for fertility. But other antioxidants would include selenium, which is a cofactor to glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant. There's some debate out there about whether or not glutathione or melatonin is the master antioxidant. It's something that I'm looking into at the moment. Vitamin C as well. So thinking about your fruits and your vegetables. Vitamin E is another antioxidant. So olive oil, butter, avocado, for example. Again, with supplementation, it's individual. So the Dutch test is a wonderful test to look at things like glutathione status. It also looks at oxidative stress, so looking at inflammatory markers. And then that can help to figure out if that individual would benefit from something like glutathione.
What's your view on food grade supplementation and, I guess, laboratory grade? I mean, what was it? It's not synthetic, but it's like made in a lab. So what I'm saying is, what's better, food or in a pill, even though it's food grade? What do you think?
I think that if food should always come first, right? So you should always try to get what you need from your diet. But if you have deficiencies, so let's say that we've done testing and we've identified that you are using up all your glutathione, or you have you know, zinc deficiencies, then sometimes I would recommend targeted supplementation to kind of work on those deficiencies alongside food. But I like to do functional testing first. You know, I don't want to knock other things out of balance, because minerals and nutrients, they work together, right? So if you take too much of something, it's going to have a knock-on effect with the other nutrients that it works with. So yeah, I think, you know, food-grown supplements. So there are brands that I recommend, such as Wild Nutrition is one of my favorites for fertility. Those supplements are made from food instead of in a lab with synthetic rubbish like petroleum. So supplements definitely have their place. And, you know, our soils are so depleted now that we're never going to get the same amount of nutrients from our food as we used to. You know, it's just unfortunately the way it is. But, you know, you can get things like a desiccated liver, desiccated oysters, desiccated organs. So if you're not keen on eating these nutrient dense foods, which I'm sure Sally Fallon is going to talk about later, then, well, she'll probably be disgusted by the idea of desiccated liver and supplements. She'll just be like, why don't you just eat it, drink raw milk, eat all the liver and organs, But yeah, if you're not into eating these nutrient-dense foods, then supplementation, which is like food grown or desiccated, definitely can have its place.
I used to hate the idea of eating liver because it's so mushy and hard and mushy at the same time. Best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And then when I looked into the benefits of it, and with me, if it's beneficial, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
But it's been a bit of a journey to just to kind of get past the taste. To be fair though, chicken liver actually tastes nice, but beef liver, not. What, you don't like chicken liver?
No. I mean, I've heard of ways to try and get rid of the taste. Have you tried soaking it in milk? Apparently that takes the taste away. I haven't tried.
I tried it. I tried soaking it in raw milk. From what I remember, it just tastes the same to me.
Yeah.
I find out with the chicken liver, because it's quite small, you can flavor it really well. But with the beef liver, because it's quite big, I mean, I used to just chop it up, have it with eggs for breakfast. But I'm guessing your view is everything has to be organic as well, ideally. I mean, ideally, right?
Yeah. Do you know what I find is I think people should just do what they can, because when I'm working with people and they're already stressed or they're already kind of overburdened with
the last thing they want to hear is like, oh, you got to pay a bit extra.
There's so much advice out there now that people are just so confused. I think do your best. If you can afford to buy organic, then obviously it's going to be better. If you can't, then always look at like the dirty dozen, and make sure that they're organic, or wash your vegetables with some baking soda, some bicarbonate and water, to remove some of the pesticides. But I always recommend people focus on nutrient dense foods first. So I don't like to focus on removing lots of things or overwhelming. We'll just start slowly, add lots of great foods in, and then eventually we'll start to kind of think about organic and think about what could be, I guess, doing more damage than other things. Like I said, the dirty dozen should be organic if you can afford it.
That's it. And that's getting away from those ultra processed foods, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. So difficult. So the mitochondria can be found in the midsection of the tail of the sperm. So it helps.
Really? Wow, I did not know that.
Gives it the energy it needs to swim. And the egg cell is the largest cell in the female body. So this is why I like to focus on supporting the mitochondria and increasing energy, which would then go on to improve fertility. My third tip would be to focus on having protein with your breakfast, as much protein as possible with your breakfast. RDA, I think it's about 60 grams or something, maybe for women, for daily protein intake, when studies and research shows that actually women would be better off around 80 to 125 grams of protein a day. And that's a massive difference, right? Having lots of protein is really important for development of an embryo, hormone production, the immune system, blood sugar balance, and the entire structure of a sperm needs protein and vitamin E. So I think protein is just one of the things. It's really easy as well this is a really easy change as well, I guess, is to just make sure that you're having a protein-rich breakfast, not skipping breakfast, especially for women. I know there's this whole kind of debate around intermittent fasting and skipping breakfast, but there's a difference, I guess, between skipping your breakfast because you think it's a beneficial thing and, just not eating at all until midday, than therapeutic intermittent fasting. And it can be good, but let's say you're a woman who's just been skipping your breakfast for the last 3 years, that's a completely different story. Our body is always sensing our environment, especially for women trying to conceive. Is it safe to conceive? Am I going to ovulate this month? Do I want to conceive? Or do I have everything that I need for conception, right? And if you're skipping your breakfast and you're starving yourself, your body's just like in this state where it's like, I'm just surviving here. I'm not going to ovulate this month. There's no way I'm going to produce a healthy egg. I'm not ovulating. I'm not up for conception this month. So I think making that change is definitely one of the things that I see. One of the things that most of the women I work with really find it to be very beneficial for everything, for mood as well, So yeah, protein-rich breakfast would be my third tip.
So when someone hears over 100 grams of protein, the first thing I hear back is like, where the hell am I going to get that much protein in a day?
Yeah.
So can you give me some examples? I know you did a lovely post on your page.
Yeah.
Maybe if you remember some of those examples from that page about,
Yeah.
what source of protein let's give a typical day where you can make 100 grams of protein.
Typical day, right? So I guess, eggs are always going to be, I actually have a breakfast protein guide that gives you, with each breakfast, it's around 30 grams per breakfast. So thinking about, eggs, protein powders can have their place, I guess, as supplemental on top of things like, yogurts. Greek yogurt is another thing that's full of protein. I can't give you an exact daily guide for how much, what you need to have to get 100 grams, but it's all in that guide. But, thinking about chicken salad, why not have chicken for breakfast? Beef burger patties, steak. I don't know why people seem to think that having a steak for breakfast is such a big deal. Why not have your, it's good. So in my opinion, it's good to have breakfast, should be the biggest meal of the day. Got these little avocado boats with egg inside and then bacon on top if you eat bacon. Greek yogurt, high protein yogurts. Yeah, it's easier than you would think, but it's everything is laid out in that guide with how much you need is based on your weight as an individual as well.
So could you tell me some success stories that you've experienced?
Yeah. My favorite success story is a case of a secondary infertility. So a couple who had a daughter and they struggled for 7 years after to conceive their second child. So we worked together for 3 months and I worked with them as a couple. And initially we did the initial consultation where we go through the health history in detail. So that gives me the full picture of their health history, their symptoms. And then we did hair tissue mineral analysis for them. And this was actually a case of malfactor infertility. So the hair test results showed high toxic metals, high toxic burden, and also really low nutrients like sodium, potassium, zinc, selenium. And we worked to resolve some of the deficiencies. So one of my recommendations for him was to have a steak a couple of times a week for breakfast. He was thrilled with that change. And he actually smoked. So that was obviously that's a massive issue when it comes to infertility. So we worked on his lifestyle, reducing smoking, he stopped smoking, reducing alcohol, making sure that he's eating lots of nutrient-dense food, supporting his liver, targeted supplementation, and they fell pregnant within 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was it's just wonderful because they had been trying for like I said, 7 years, and they were getting ready to do IVF. So, yeah,
and is that the instant reaction from the NHS? Just IVF?
Yeah, that's it. There's no mention of diet or lifestyle changes. It's just if you've been trying to conceive for more than a year and you haven't fallen pregnant, your next step is IVF. And I like working with couples who, they intend to do IVF. So they work with me and we're getting them ready for IVF, and then they fall pregnant before they need to go through IVF. That's another one of my favorite scenarios.
Right. So I've got a bonus round for you.
I am rubbish. I can't remember anything, but I'll try. You're going to have to just edit this and I'm going to have to think about it.
It's your first answer. I'm taking your first answer. It's nothing too crazy.
Okay.
It's just, it's nothing to do with health.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with nutrition.
Like if you ask me about music and movies and all that, I'm like, so you'll have to cut it out and
right. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
First job?
I worked at Ford Motor Company as a receptionist.
And how long were you there for then?
Maybe 8 months or a year or something. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. 3 things you cannot live without.
Things I can't live without. Music. My children. Gosh. There's so many things. How am I supposed to choose just 3?
You got to be your
if I don't take my partner, he's going to be like, right, my children and my partner.
Do you know what I was thinking exactly? I was thinking, your children and partner is one.
Yeah, that's my family. Yeah, my family.
Okay, your family. Yeah, family.
Family. Yeah. Cup of tea.
Okay. What's your favourite tea?
I like just English breakfast tea.
Cool.
I'm definitely big on buying loose leaf tea because that's plastic tea bags are massive when it comes to
Plastic.
endocrine disruptors. So
That's it.
yeah, I'm like loose leaf English breakfast tea, favorite tea.
Because I get the tea pigs now because they're like plastic free
Yeah,
now, so
yeah,
which is quite good. I mean, it's a solution to a problem,
yeah.
right?
They're not strong enough for me. I'm like builder's tea. I need the oomph.
Advice you'd give to your younger self?
Don't give a beep about what other people have to say or think about you. Just do whatever you want.
Guilty pleasure?
Crisps,
Oh,
crisps
what
with
flavor?
sour cream and chive
Dip.
dip. Yeah. What flavor? Salt and vinegar. Uh, sweet chili. Any crisps. Crisps.
Top 3 supplements for fertility?
It depends on the individual again.
Yeah,
Always.
you sound
But
like Kush. I'm not gonna ask the next question then, because
no, you can. I'll still answer. But if I
okay,
had to choose, I would say vitamin C because it's antioxidant and it also supports with the production of progesterone and it supports the adrenal glands and your immune system. I would say an underrated one would also be vitamin E, which is another antioxidant, and all antioxidants really. But yeah, it's hard. But I guess let's say if it's someone who's struggling to conceive, then I would focus solely on antioxidants and I would probably recommend CoQ10.
cool. Top 3 supplements for sperm health?
Well, I would say protein before supplements because it's needed for the entire structure of the sperm. Vitamin E again, another powerful antioxidant. L-carnitine is another one that's really important for sperm health, and
That's
CoQ10 again.
3.
Oh,
That was
that's
3,
right.
but
Sorry.
yeah, you said protein, vitamin E, and
Yeah, yeah.
L-carnitine. But L-carnitine you can get from steak.
Yeah, you can get it from food, definitely. It's best to get it from food, but if someone's struggling with really poor quality sperm, then supplements can definitely be useful.
Cool. So I love books. I absolutely love books, and now I've got to a stage where I'm asking every guest to recommend a book that anyone that's starting to get into
Yeah,
fertility or the topic I'm talking
yeah,
about that you would recommend
yeah,
if they're first starting out and they want to understand like, okay, what's the natural way of doing things? So what book would you recommend for someone, even for me? Like
yeah.
I'd love to understand what book you would recommend.
I like Nourishing Traditions. So the Sally Fallon book, I think it's just a great book for it's full of wonderful recipes as well and the importance of fats. I've also got another book called Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols. I've got it here, yeah. So she's actually done a fertility book that I need to buy as well. But this book, Real Food for
Oh,
Pregnancy, it's amazing. It's full of great information around nutrients needed for healthy pregnancy. But she's also done a fertility one as well, which I need to get. But
cool. So is that for men and women, that book?
yeah, mostly women, but
Okay.
she does cover some male factor fertility stuff too.
Cool. So scenario question. I don't know if you've heard this one. So you're on your deathbed, you're surrounded by your loved ones, and you've got one last meal to pick before you go. What is that last meal?
Roast dinner every time.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a.
But what roast?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have a mixture of lamb, chicken, and beef because I'm greedy. I'm not choosing one. But yeah, that and you know what? It's actually one of those meals that's a good example of well-balanced food group and meal. So it's good for your blood sugars. So at least I'd be dying with my last healthy meal.
Do you know what I love? I think it's in Leeds or Yorkshire, Leeds. I think they've got a stand where they get the roast dinner and they wrap it in a Yorkshire pudding and you
Ooh,
can have it as a wrap. I was
yeah.
like, oh, and I can't really have
Yeah.
wheat. Well, I shouldn't anyway. But like as an odd treat, I have a burger here and there
Yeah.
because I absolutely love burgers.
Yeah.
But that's something I really want to try because
Yeah.
it's
Well, if you're on your deathbed, then you're not going to worry about your gluten.
yeah, exactly. So there you go. I guess I answered my question as well. If someone ever asked me, what does health mean to you?
I guess health isn't just about avoiding illness. I guess that's what most people think it is to be healthy, right? You just avoid getting sick. But I think it's about feeling well in your physically and mentally, feeling energized, having energy. I think a lot of us struggle with actually, just not feeling like you're thriving. You're just kind of going through the day surviving, right? And that's what most of us seem to do. So my idea of health is just having the energy to enjoy my life.
And where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @nurturingfertility, and I also have a website as well, but mostly active on Instagram.